Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay and welcome to Ford Lane in Farnham. Now you might be wondering what I'm doing on Ford Lane. Well, one reason is that I need to run the street for City Strides, which I've done. The other reason, I've got the Endorphin Speed 2 RUNSHIELD edition. So as I did with the Pegasus Trail 3 Gore-Tex shoes, I found a Ford, this one here, and I'm going to attempt to run through it and step through it to see if it's actually waterproof. Now it shouldn't be as waterproof as the Pegasus one because that's actually Gore-Tex. This is more billed as being water resistant. So obviously in this particular situation, any normal runner would just go across the bridge. But if you were hurtling down here at top speed, maybe you would fancy your chances of running through this stream. So before I go into the specs of the shoe, which spoiler alert are pretty much exactly the same as the normal Speed, although they are interestingly 10 grams lighter in my size, UK 13, which is a massive bonus. I think it's the lightest weatherized shoe I've ever had. So this one clearly isn't too bad because we've got cars coming through it, just a little water splash, but ideal for this because it's not going to be submerging my feet, but it'll give it a nice little test. So the Endorphin Speed 2, traditionally if people have said they are a bit sort of unstable on the wet, so it'd be a good test. If I fall over and go head over tit into this water, then well, it'll make a good YouTube video, won't it? So for a first test, let's just stand in the water, not completely covering the shoe to see how waterproof they are. So this bit here isn't particularly deep, actually it's not actually going to the top of the shoe, so I think any shoes would be okay. Let's see if I can get to a slightly deeper bit that covers the shoe a bit. So now I'm just letting my foot go over the water there. Can't feel anything through the socks yet. That's a pretty submerged test, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I can just feel it now coming through that little gap there. So if you go over the upper there and into your sock, it's not going to be great, but it'll be good for nice splashes, I think. Okay, so past that first test, as long as you don't actually submerge your foot in the shoe, it's going to be pretty waterproof, I'd say there. So let's do a few little strides through the river and see how we go. So, past that test with good flying colours, didn't get too wet at all there, though it wasn't that deep, so let's see if we can find a slightly deeper bit. So I've stepped off the side of the Ford here, which is a bit deeper. See if we can, how we go here. And just let the water run over the shoe. Now I can start to feel the water coming in actually. Yeah, when you really submerge it, I can feel that coming in. This one's alright. Yeah, it's just this bit here it leaks into. Now I can feel that quite a lot. Completely submerge it, all my socks also getting wet there. It's not too bad actually. You can live with that. Okay, now my feet do feel a bit squelchy, but yeah, I mean considering I was virtually putting that under the tap as it were, and for considering that time, obviously when running you're just going to be stepping through it, aren't you? And my socks aren't completely sodden. Let's go back to the car and I'll weigh them. I weighed them at 35 grams a pair before we started, so each one's going to be about 17 or 18, isn't it? One good thing is I also tried a Strava segment, like an uphill one for about a minute and a half. I think I got the course record as well, so they do live up to the name of the Speed shoe, even with the waterproof covering. And as I said, they are actually 10 grams lighter. So let's go back to the car and weigh the socks and have a closer look at this and also the second version, the normal version. Okay, before I set out on the run with a big dry shoe, the RunShield versions were 275 grams on the left and 281 grams on the right. There's also a bit of a difference with Saucony shoes for some reason. The original Speed 2s, the normal pair, they're actually slightly heavier, 290 on the left, 285 on the right. So that's an average of a good sort of 10 grams less in the RunShield version, which is amazing. I don't think I've ever had anywhere such a light shoe for a weatherized version. And my socks wore 35 grams. Let's see what they now weigh. Okay, here's the left one I'm going to weigh. This is the one I didn't get quite as wet. And that's amazing. Despite the fact that I put that in the water, that's only gone up from 275 to 288 grams. So that's definitely showing that if you just sort of do a splash proof test, and that feels quite wet there at the top. So, you know, it definitely has taken on some water, but literally it's only holding 13 grams. Let's try the sock. Now the sock's at 22 grams and then previously the two together were 35. So I'd say that's only taken on about 5 grams of just dampness, and some of that may be sweat because I did do a few miles run, including one Strava segment. Two socks together were 73 when previously they were 35. Now I've taken out the insole in the right one and you can see there's some water actually just pooling inside the shoe. So the shoe itself is retaining some water. So let's just get rid of that if I can. and then get rid of all the debris from the back of it. Just push off the excess water on the insole. It's quite a nice insole actually, nice and padded. You can see it's already moulded to my foot quite well there after this is just the 4th run, and about 25 miles in it now. That feels a bit sort of wet though, that one definitely. Right, let's put this back and then see how we go. Yeah, you can see it's still 397 grams, so that one's got a bit of drying out to do. It really has submerged that one. So let's just use this convenient post box here to have a look at the back of the shoes. So this is the RUNSHIELD version, and this is the Speed 2 from the back. It's exactly the same there in the pull tab. You haven't got quite the reflective material there. If we look at the outsoles of the shoes, this is the normal Speed one on the left, and this is the RUNSHIELD version on the right. Well, there isn't really any difference. There was some talk that the RUNSHIELD version, having this sort of blue colouring, now got a bit dirty, obviously going through the water and stuff, has some sort of special coating, but having just felt it, it feels exactly the same. Some people say that they have difficulty with the slipperiness on the Speed 2 and the Speed, but I haven't really said that I've found that. And as you can see there, I went through those water splashes and I didn't fall over, so far so good. Big difference of course between the two shoes is in the uppers. The RUNSHIELD version here has got this very sort of smooth, sort of feels like a bit like a neoprene material with this black reinforcement at the top, whereas the normal one has just got more this mesh one, and it just feels kind of lighter on foot when you pick it up. So the weatherized material runs all the way around the shoe right to the back there. And just turn it over on the side. I mean, those perforations more reflect the fact how the shoe was previously. In fact, you see the sort of design was almost like mirrored exactly the same, as if they'd just taken this exact same design and left those in, because they aren't really giving any ventilation. In terms of the waterproofness, clearly the secret is not to get the lace area covered, because that, when I put my foot in it there, it really does submerge it. The shape of the tongue on both versions is exactly the same. You've got this little pull tab here again on both, which I'm not sure that it really does a lot of difference for me. The difference is that then the material here, you've got a bit of like a neoprene type sort of covering on the RUNSHIELD version, whereas the normal one is just more the mesh material seen on the upper. But if anything, this feels slightly more sort of cushioned, so how they managed to lose 10 grams or so between the two shoes is quite remarkable. Both insoles seem to be exactly the same, although on the RUNSHIELD version you've got slightly different covering marking, obviously different colour, the red one there, whereas the normal one is just showing Endorphin Speed a roll. And this one you emphasising the fact we've got a RUNSHIELD. Just looking at the wear on the second version, this second version has done about 200 miles now. It's looking in pretty good shape. I am starting to feeling it through the sort of toes, and you can see there the most sort of wear is coming in there, and already after about 25 miles you can see a bit of wear on the toes there. I think that's just me, because I've seen some people on some shoes got a massive amount of wear in the heel, whereas all my wear comes in the toe box here, so I must have a bit of toe off sort of action. In terms of the actual ride between the two shoes, when I instantly put the new pair on the other day, it feels like a really nice sort of new shoe. And you do forget after a while that a shoe you've had about 200 miles can sort of start to wear a bit. I was starting to feel my toes quite a lot in that one. And it wasn't sort of on the point I was about to throw them out, but I was thinking that maybe, having got the 200 miles, that maybe one of sort of soon thinking about retiring them. So it just goes to show that sometimes people say the old shoe could last for 300 to 400 miles. Just be careful when you say that. I always recommend you get two pairs of a shoe that you like. So if you had an older pair and a newer pair, you can really tell the difference between them. And sometimes it's a bit of a night and day difference when you put a new pair on. You almost forget how the original pair was when you first had them. And it was a bit like that in this RUNSHIELD edition of the Endorphin Speed. In terms of the actual ride between the two shoes, now having worn this one for a bit, the only thing I would say that this sort of black covering at the top does feel sometimes that you feel slightly constricted in your toe box. So just a slight word of warning. I think I would say to take the same size. In my case, there's no real option because I only go up or down a full size, and I certainly wouldn't want anything shorter and certainly want anything longer. So it's fine for me. Just a word of caution though, if you're right on the limit between two sizes, that you may want to go slightly higher in these ones. But otherwise, I find it quite hard to detect any great difference between the shoes. And as I said, they must have some speed in them, because I did manage to get a Strava segment earlier on, and it was quite a tough one as well, straight up at 6% hill. At least I think I have anyway. I need to check the stats when I get back. So I hope you found this look at the Endorphin Speed RUNSHIELD edition interesting. I look forward to seeing the next one then. Like and subscribe and all that. Bye.